Hello and welcome. My name is JodieLynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness, and this is my dear friend Heather Marie Smith, founder of Soulgate. Welcome to Channel Squared, where we have extraordinary conversations about everyday, real life things. Hi, Heather. How are you?
Good. How are you? On vacation?
Yes, you are. I love the vacation vibes. This is amazing. So today our topic is spirituality. What is spirituality anyway? We're going in depth on definitions, what it means to us, meditate, not meditate, how long do you meditate, all of the things about spirituality. And I'm so excited to have this conversation because I think that there is a lot of noise around what is spirituality, and I'm just excited to dive in and get your perspective. So let's start there, Heather. What is your definition of spirituality?
Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It is not, buying the sweater and, it's not fad, that's for sure. So to me, spirituality is, it's a lifestyle. So it is being mindful, having mindful practices, going deep down the rabbit hole, so to speak, in pretty much all things. And it is, it's about doing the work, the shadow work to better your soul, to heal your soul wounds, to move through that type of, past lifetime, different alternate timeline work. And so to me, spirituality is it's about your life. How do you live your life? Yeah. I mean, I know that we have very similar views on what spirituality is, but I think all our listeners would like to know what your definition of spirituality is.
Oh, I love this question because for me, when I was young, we went to church, and when I was really little anyway. And my definition of spirituality was that. And then growing up, I sort of had, I think, like a consciousness crisis. I don't know, like a religious crisis. I was just mad at God, maybe. But I was like, I don't know, I don't believe in it. That being said, I have always believed that there was something bigger, something more than just these two hands that make things work, or the things that I'm seeing in this third dimensional world. And that is my version of spirituality, having access to something that is bigger than myself. And that definition has been deepening for me over the years.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of folks that get into spirituality, or become spiritual. I think a lot of people start out with organized religion, and I think we should talk about that because organized religion is not necessarily spirituality.
Ooh, down the rabbit hole we go. Yeah. I completely agree. And that's where the crisis that I was speaking of came from, because I didn't understand some of the things that were said in the Bible. Actually, a mutual friend that we have, she was very religious when I met her, and I just needed somebody that I could talk to and ask these questions. Why does the Bible say this? Or how should I interpret that? And, how can I be spiritual? Because I had put myself in this box. If you're not religious, then you're not spiritual. And I think that is completely false now, sitting here before you today. And I do think that they can potentially be two different things. So why do you think they could be two different things, Heather?
Well, I mean, I was raised in the Catholic faith. In fact, I actually was the one who convinced my family to go to church. So at the young age of 4. And, I think that there are things about
wait. You, at 4 years old, Heather? You just like,
Yeah.
come mommy. And when's
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so I actually went to church with my neighbor across the street, um, Kathy Zimmerman, the Zimmerman family. So I went to church with them, and it was a great church. I loved it. It was, there was singing, and people were so, it was like a community. And I think that this is what is so special about um, religion and spirituality, is that I think both instances you have a community. And I think that's really important. I think that, we're much better together as a group, as a community, in any way, shape, or form. But when I started to learn some of the things I was learning, I realized that there was this aspect of control. And that to me felt inauthentic, like there was something wrong here. And so when I felt that, I started really questioning some of the stuff that I was learning, and as I questioned, I couldn't really get answers from the church. And the church sort of looked at me like, what are you, a witch? you know, that's stuff I've never even shared with my parents. My parents would probably be mortified if they listen to this. They're going to be like, why didn't you tell us? But, the thing is that sometimes I feel like the teachings are a poor game of telephone.
mm.
They took these scriptures, interpreted them, and maybe some of it was lost in translation because, we may get a total black eye for what I'm about to say here. And that is that there are some parts about spirituality that are completely missing from the Bible. Entire segments of real, like, knowledge and information isn't even in there. And why isn't it in there? It's because it's empowering.
Which, really leads to the question of, and I'm not saying that this is a blanket statement. I'm asking a question, like, is that type of religion maybe at its core what it was supposed to be is supposed to be empowering, and then there's this bad game of telephone and this element of control that some people are holding on to and would rather have them under people in general under your thumb, which is very disempowering. I think it's so interesting that we're afraid of individuals being empowered next to us, like even colleagues. Oh, you can't know all the information or else you'll be better than me and take my job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, where we go together, like what you can do together, many hands make light work. It's just, that makes sense to me. Being at the top of a totem pole all by yourself I think it's pretty easy to knock down.
Exactly. And that's what happens is, someone gets placed on a pedestal. And I mean, we're kind of starting to talk about this whole guru thing, right?
Yeah.
That, this human, this spirit in human form is placed on this pedestal, and then they're basically displayed for people to worship or tear down.
Mm-hmm.
It's never anything in the middle. It's never like, oh, hey, yeah, that's Tony Robbins, right? Tony
Yep.
Robbins, I would classify as a guru, right?
Yep.
And people either love him, adore him, practically worship him, or they're ripping him to shreds. And you know what? He's just a guy.
He's just a man.
He's just a man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a man who's trying to help people.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting that we do that. We place these people in this on this pedestal and we worship them and we think that, they're better than us. And I saw that a lot in, the financial business that I run, or that I also have aside or along with abundance consciousness. And, it's interesting because my husband, a farmer, just very, honest man, very humble, very grounded and rooted, and just he is who he is, and he's very comfortable with that, and that's why I love him. And I remember him meeting these people who make millions of dollars, and everybody else is like, oh my god, whatever. And he said to me once, I don't get it, they put on their pants the same way that you do, one leg at a time.
Exactly.
So true. Yeah.
Exactly. And, I think that, somebody having a following, I think that that's, it's a very fine line between having a following and people who, appreciate what you bring to the world, and having a cult-like following that it creates this like guru, like whirlwind around you. And it's not bad. I don't think it's great. I think that it could be uncomfortable sitting in that position. And, I know that on an earlier episode, we talked about compassion, but, come on, people, these are still people. Yeah. Have some compassion for them. If you don't agree with them, just don't watch, don't consume their material. Yeah. Like, they're just out trying to, shine a light on the world. Yeah. That's I'm getting on a rant here. I can feel it coming.
Isn't that what spirituality is all about? The light? In my opinion, I guess that's the way that I see it, is shedding a light. And if that light comes through teaching, through jumping up and down, or, teaching from an ancient book, I think both are potentially correct. It depends on what you're seeking in that moment. And maybe even a deeper question is why you're seeking it. I think a lot of times the reason why we have these gurus and put people on pedestals is because within ourselves, we don't think we are good enough. We don't think we are worthy. We need to look outside of ourselves towards people, places, things to fill a void. But I don't think we were born with that void.
No, I mean, it is inside each and every one of us. We all have the ability to know everything. Mm-hmm. We do.
Right? That connection to God.
That's right. That connection to God.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We are a piece of God. And a piece of one another. Like in the grander scheme of things, the way that I see it is that we're all pieces of this one. We're all pieces of one, which means we're all connected, as well as we are all a piece of God.
Right. It's the oneness.
Yeah.
The oneness.
100%.
That's exactly it. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about, maybe different layers of spirituality. You talked about this trendy thing. I mean, why do you think it became like the new it thing to be spiritual?
Well, I mean, I think that humans in general, I think that they know, as a human, not a soul, we're talking the monkey mind up here, knows that there's something more, right? There's this, disconnect. Whether or not people go deep on that is the difference between, do they hang out in the trend, do the cacao ceremonies, at the yoga studio. Not that that's not important. I think that that's wonderful. Yeah. It's a great place to start, but keep going. Don't just stop there. I had a client one time who started working into, it was very surface spiritual, went to yoga, didn't really meditate, maybe a little bit, would do the cacao ceremonies, stuff like that, but it was very surface level. This client never really wanted to go deep. And finally one day decided, okay, I'm going to go deep. Let's just do it. And it was more like rip off the Band-Aid and let's go. And, you know, anybody who's actually been on a true spiritual journey knows you do not rip off the Band-Aid and just go, because
What?
you are literally opening Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, in the end, this client, reverted back to surface spiritual because this client did not want to look at the deep, disturbing things to work through them. And I think that that surface spiritual is okay. Maybe you've got some mindful practices. Maybe you are dabbling in it a little bit. You've got some sage in your house that you burn once in a while to defunk. But there's definitely different tiers, different layers. That's that old analogy of peeling back the layers of the onion.
Yeah.
Outside it's a little crispy, kind of looks nice. You get deeper in and you get more tears.
What kind of onion you got? Crispy onion. But it's so true. I mean, when I look at spirituality and all it encompasses, so, mindfulness practices, moving your body, cacao ceremonies, there's a million things that we can name here. For me, I started with the basic things, and I didn't start from a conscious perspective of I'm deepening my spiritual practice. I did it out of necessity. I started saging because I needed to transition from this businesswoman that was so masculine to feminine, the feminine side of me, where I was the wife and, I played a different role, and I found it hard to transition. So I started to sage. I was naturally attracted to essential oils. I was in the Bahamas, and Nate and we went on a tour. We took a taxi downtown just randomly, and we were randomly walked down a back alley and found an essential oil shop. And this lady built me this beautiful blend, a bottle this big, a huge bottle for $30. It was amazing. But I was listening for what my human needed, what my soul needed. What do I need in this moment? And even where I put the essential oil, I would listen. I need it on the bottom of my feet. That's where it started. And I never questioned it. Just, okay, sure. I put it on the bottom of my feet. I've always been into rocks, aka crystals. My whole life, I searched for rocks on our farm, and I'd break them open and be like, oh, it's so cool, pretty, whatever, just attracted to these things and started to slowly learn. And I think in our society, there is this belief, you can't do it unless you do it this way. You can't meditate unless you meditate for 60 minutes. I had a friend who was so frustrated. She was like, I tried to meditate for a full 60 minutes and I couldn't do it. And she was beating herself up. And I was like, why? Why? You never meditated before, or barely ever, and you went from 0 to 60 minutes? Yeah, and I couldn't do it, and I'm so awful. I'm like, what? Okay, why are you doing this again? Well, I need to connect with myself. I need to connect with my higher self. And I was like, okay, how about you start with 5, 3, 1? Whatever it is, start with something that's more digestible for you. You don't need to know it all. And I don't think that there is so much a right or wrong way to begin learning. It's that curiosity that brings it to light. And what I do with my essential oils or my crystals may be completely different than what you do with yours. And I'm tired of people saying, this is the only way, and this is right, and this is wrong. Let's go back to what you just said. Let's have some compassion for one another in our learning processes and in our ability to hear what we need and give that to ourselves.
Exactly. And I mean, the thing is I think we're just so programmed now with this instant gratification. It's like, we got to get it right now. Right. So like,
It's
I'm
got
going to
to
do
be
it all right
perfect.
now. Exactly. Exactly. It's just, let's just, jump right into an hour of meditation. And, that takes practice.
Yeah.
You have to build up to that. You can't just jump into 60 minutes of medit. It'll never happen. Your brain will be off talking about something else. It'll be, la, 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 and you're sitting there going, I'm meditating. And if you're thinking about you meditating, you're not actually meditating, just to clear it up for everybody here. If you are thinking I'm meditating in your head while you're meditating, you're not actually meditating.
You're not there
So
yet. Keep
you're not there
going though.
yet.
You got to, but I
Exactly.
mean, when I first started meditating, and I think this is really common, it was hard to shut that brain down, to
Right.
stop thinking I'm meditating. And then I think especially women, because, well, I know for me anyway, I'm like constantly like, I'm thinking of 10 different things that are going on in my life at all times. Like, until my brain falls asleep or whatever, I'm unconscious, everything is going. So it was a practice to shut that down, a
Mhm.
practice to quiet that voice, and also an opportunity for me to have compassion for myself, that I've lived this life the way that it is, the way that I was, frantic, and all these voices in my head, not necessarily all these voices, but all of these things going on in my mind. I lived that for decades. So it's not going to undo itself in one session of meditation. It's going to take some time for me, and trying different things. Some people say like the words, watch them like clouds as they go away. Okay, that kind of helped for me. And I found yoga really helped for me because I was locked in a room for an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds so bad, but I couldn't. I was there, and you can't. Well, I mean, you could leave in the middle of a hot yoga class, but I was not brave enough to ever do that. But I could lay there and I could absorb, and I was already there, and I had slated the time in, so that helped. But it was these little things that I kept trying that deepened this practice for me. It wasn't an overnight thing.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that, as you move through the journey that you're on to reach this spiritual enlightenment, it's a journey. Take the journey. Like,
Yeah.
however long it takes, you don't have to get from here to there in like 5 minutes.
Hmm.
I've been on this spiritual journey my entire life. It started in organized religion, and now I'm woo AF, right? So, I had the crystals, I have the essential oils, the sage, the candles, the tarot cards. I think the only thing I probably don't have at this point is a Ouija board, much to my mother's delight, I'm sure. Because I'm absolutely certain that that was the vision she got in her mind while when I told her that I was spiritual and a channel. I think she thought, oh man, she is a witch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh, my husband told somebody at work the other day that I talk to dead people. Like, no, no, I do not. I could, but I choose not to. That's mediumship. No, I just, that's not for me. I don't want to.
mhm,
Um,
yeah.
but something that you were just saying that I really want to lean into is, we as a society, as humans, we expect to go from here to here. And what I try and teach my students is the reason why we want to do this, and the reason why I wanted to do this. I wanted to be at this place because I thought it was like the end of the rainbow. When I finally got to this place, I would have peace, I would have love, I would have joy, I would have bliss, I would have all of these things. And what I think what's missing in that is that the joy, the love, the bliss, the peace is found in this moment. It's not at the end of some magical freaking rainbow. And even
Mhm.
as you deepen your practice, like you said, you're a spiritual AF, it doesn't mean that everything is sunshine and roses 24/7. You just live on this elevated cloud of magical fairy dust. You
Right.
are a human having a human experience, and you have these tools. You are rooted in spirituality. So the experience that you have is completely different, but it's in this now moment, not waiting till you get to this point that things change. Sorry, I got a little
Well,
heated
yeah,
there.
I mean, that's the thing though, is that, it's not this I'm going to get to the end of the road and it's going to be all rainbows and unicorns, you know, like it's just not. The journey is about being along the path, finding your way. That's all that it's about. And I'll tell you, since really deepening my spiritual practice, I have so much more appreciation for things than I ever did before. I'm sitting here at a good friend's house and I'm looking out of this window. And outside the window is this beautiful lavender plant. And there are bees and dragonflies and butterflies and all kinds of beautiful little creatures out there just buzzing along. And I'm like, this is so beautiful. And like, I'm looking at my environment, how she works, where she works, and her place of practice. And it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't have even noticed any of that before.
Yeah. I think
You
we
know,
missed a
you
lot.
really, yeah, you really get to see the beauty in your life by deepening the practice.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what spirituality is understanding, for me, understanding the depth of the world around you, or maybe if it's not even understanding, but experiencing the world that is right in front of you and how incredible it is. Experiencing the fact that you're human and having a human experience. I love the way that you put it, and I'm going to steal your phrase. When we talked about this episode, you sit firmly in the seat of spirituality. That is the root for everything to come through. And that includes a lot and really changes your whole life.
Yeah. And, I mean, you, when you're going down this journey, along this journey, I shouldn't say down the journey because it's not down at all, it's actually up. But, when you're on the journey, there are definitely moments that you are like, oh my God, why? Why is this happening to me? This is so dark. It's so yucky. I feel like crap. I mean, ascension symptoms are real. They just are.
Psychic
And
attacks are real.
they are real, and the thing is that even though it may be painful or difficult or unnerving to go through, it's always for the better. Better always results, always. You cannot go down the rabbit hole, walk through the valley of shadow of doubt or whatever it is that the Bible says and not come out better on the other side. You just cannot. It is an impossibility because this whole life is perfectly curated just for you.
Yeah. 100%. For people who are watching, Heather, let's dive into a little bit of like ascension symptoms and things that we were just talking about, because in case they don't know, because wherever you are in your spirituality journey, whether you started to follow the trend because it felt good, and then now you're deepening a practice, or you're spiritual AF, whatever that looks like for you, it's deep at the seat. Sit firmly at the seat of spirituality wherever you are is perfectly great. It's exactly where you're supposed to be. And for those that maybe don't understand those words, let's talk about them. Ascension symptoms. What the heck does that mean?
So, ascension symptoms are typically actual physical, like almost like illness symptoms, you commonly will, like the most common ones are like headaches, fatigue, nausea. Those are probably the three most common, maybe a little bit of like brain fog, which, interestingly are the same symptoms of a lot of other illnesses that, are possible for humans to contract. But Ascension symptoms, sometimes they can even be in the form of depression, or anxiety. Oftentimes, when I am like energetically leveling up, I go through a crazy depression beforehand. Like I am like, give me all the razor blades.
It's not funny,
and the thing is no, it's not funny. It's not, and I don't mean to make light of it, but because it's not, I mean, I had an ascension last year, and it was really dark. I mean, my poor husband, God bless him, he was like, I don't know if I can carry us both much longer. You got to get out of this, and fortunately for him, I did, and on the other side of it, I was able to look at it and see all of the growth that happened in that time. Like I was able to break free from some of the belief systems that had been, installed that I just couldn't seem to get free of.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that doubt doesn't creep back in. I mean, come on, I'm a human too.
Yeah.
So, that happens, but at least now I can look at it and go, thank you, monkey mind. Yeah. I hear you. Thank you for your opinion, but we're going to do something else instead.
I choose no, not that.
Yeah.
Let's go this direction. I thank you for opening up about that, because you're right. I didn't mean to giggle. I think the way that you said it, it's an uncomfortable conversation talking about depression. And, growing up in a household where, I grew up with family members with depression and manic depression and all of these things. It was at times in my life, I was afraid I was going to go down that path, and began going down that path. And I think my darkest time was in 2019, when I went through an ectopic pregnancy. And it wasn't so much give me the razor blades. It was more like, I just wish I wasn't here anymore. This isn't what I want to do. And this being spiritual, beginning
goosebumps. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Having the depth of spirituality I had at that point, which is, in my perspective, not even anywhere close to where I am now, saved me, got me through to the other side. It was that I always have better. And something that I've never said out loud, but I was thinking in the darkest moments at that time, this thought came to me, and I've never really expressed it to anyone. But whether it was God speaking to me or my higher self, this voice was saying, it's just like color. And I didn't know what that meant. And then I heard color spectrum, and I thought of a color wheel, and I started researching color spectrum because I felt like I needed to understand. And it was this moment of all of the colors that are in the spectrum. There's all of them. Like when you take, a red, there is a little bit of this one and a little bit of this one and a little bit of this one. And even when you take black, I assume it's an overcast of all of them, or, mixed together. That's how I would make black in my painting, is mix all the colors together, which sounds silly now saying this out loud, but it was that realization that there was the light in the dark. And it's proved through that example of color, that it's never gone. It's even feelings, the depression, the anxiety, whatever it is that you're feeling that maybe is on the negative side or the dark side of things, there is still even minute amount of light within it. And when you boil all the feelings down to, the root, it's peace, every single one of them. And that's what got me through that time.
Well, and I think that when people are in this moment of, I don't want to be here anymore, I don't want to do this anymore, like life would be easier if I just wasn't a part of it anymore.
Yeah.
If they would just stop for a second and think about, what if I do make it through this dark moment? What if I can help somebody else get through their dark moment?
Yeah.
There's so much power and light and giving and just compassion and humanity that can come out of that. Those dark moments are what make healers the powerful healers that they are, is because they will literally sit in the sludge with you and swim right alongside.
Yeah.
We're all healers
Yeah.
by nature.
I agree.
And I think that it's like that. Of course, this is why we've had these experiences. We help our clients in these moments when they are, feeling like they're paddling upstream and they're not making any progress. We jump into the deep end with them and we go, all right, let's go. I'm with you.
Yeah. I'm going to hold space for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amazing, right?
We just went off the deep end there.
We totally did.
It's something that needed to be said, though, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've covered a lot of different ground here, all over the place. We've been, I think, let's talk some more specifically about some of the things like organized religion, witchcraft, spirituality. Whew. I heard in my journey in spirituality, I hear a lot of people say that they, in past lifetimes they were former witches and things like that. And I thought before my spiritual journey that witches were bad, Ouija boards were bad, like all of this stuff. And then to start learning that that's not necessarily true. I was like, okay. What are your thoughts on all that?
I mean, it's funny that you bring up like witchcraft, and I'm going to kind of lump this with like the religion called Wiccan, because there is a religious like structure around witchcraft called Wiccan. The way that I look at witchcraft is, it's kind of like a flirtatious spirituality, right? So they are very, it's a firm belief system that's very rooted in nature. They use a lot of spell casting, whether it be using, things of nature in the spell, things of biological nature, things that are spoken word. They talk about positive affirmations.
Yep.
And positive affirmations is nothing more than spell casting.
Because you're spelling.
Exactly. And so, witchcraft kind of gets a bad rap, really, because people are like, oh, the witches, they're these, evil beings that ride around on brooms and eat children. I think there was a fairy tale about that, wasn't there?
Yeah. So.
Hansel and Gretel, I think it was.
Yeah.
But the reality is that there's good witchcraft and there's bad witchcraft, but there's also good spirituality and bad spirituality, and there's good religion and bad religion, right? So there's always this polarity, and it's because we're on this lovely earth plane that we may experience that. Doesn't matter the religion or the belief, there's still going to be good and bad.
Yeah.
But I don't think that, calling witchcraft bad is fair.
I agree.
And I think that, and I shouldn't probably say this, but no, I'm going to say it because it's in my mind and I think I should. I'm suspect. Which came first, mediumship or witchcraft? Like, it's a good question. If somebody knows the answer, put it in the comments because I would love to know, which came first, witchcraft or mediumship, because they were kind of way back, were kind of one and the same. You
Yeah.
wanted to seance the dead, you went and saw a witch.
Hmm.
A witch.
A witch. I wonder, something else that I was thinking at the very beginning of this conversation, we were talking about telephone and the words being messed up because of the translation or parts missing or whatever. But even I think it goes deeper to that. And you just reminded me of that when you said spelling, when it's the actual word, the actual definition of things. We have distorted the language that we use so much so that even the legal definition of words that we use every single day is not what we think it is. Like, a lawyer doesn't use Webster's dictionary to define something. They use Black's Law, or there's one other, definition or book that they can use, but you know what I'm saying. But I wonder what the definition is of witch.
Yeah, interesting.
Spirituality.
Yep.
I
think, didn't we look that up once? Didn't we look up in the Black's Law if there was spirituality or one of the words like this? I think we looked it up and I think it was not even there. There was something I remember I don't know. That's another episode. We will get back to you on that.
We will get back to you on that.
We will get back to you on that. But yeah, I think that, this spoken word in a human development is the last thing that developed as humans. And yet it's the one that is so, it's the one that's most misunderstood, but it's the one that's most utilized for communication.
Yeah.
But I think that, previous time witchcraft understood that there's so much more to this universe, this quantum field, than word.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, even the way that we see things, our perception of our reality, what we believe is true, what our frequency is at, changes things. The other night we had a friend over and she was showing us this picture and it was like a ball and something else. Anyway, she said, "Does it move?" And the ball was like slightly rolling, like really, really slow. And she said, the picture is stationary. If the ball is like looping, doing laps, it means that you're stressed or extremely overtired. If it's going slow, it could mean that you're tired. And if it's still, you're completely at peace.
Wow.
We distort what we look at. 100%.
Definitely.
So there's so much more than just the thing that we are seeing in the way that we perceive it, even the way that we say it. And so much we don't know. I think there's a lot covered up, like whether it's aliens or,
Oh yeah.
We could go on and on and on. The moon, all of these things that technologies, we were talking about these med beds the other day,
Oh yeah.
Things that have been, not taken away from us, but we've been sheltered from. They've been, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like censored.
Yeah, exactly. They have been censored from us. And I think a lot of times we take things at face value too often instead of feeling into it, instead of thinking through it or asking some more questions when we don't know. And I think spirituality is, high on that list of where people either get it or don't, or just disregard it sometimes. I remember telling my parents that I could channel. and that I could astral travel. So those of you that are listening, you're in your mind's eye, you're traveling to another place. The CIA uses people to see compounds around the world and map them out with individuals who can use that astral traveling. I was telling him about doing this, feeling people's energy, you know, influencing the energy while doing a talk. For me, it shows up like dials. Like I can turn up the dial if I feel people are losing energy and I'm on stage or something. I can turn up the dial and lift people, or I can hold people. We were talking about holding space for our clients. I can imagine this ball of energy around them to hold them in place so that they're feel safe and comforted, and all of these things. But they were natural things that I realized I was doing without any acknowledgement of doing them. They were just happening. And then I began to see them. And then I began to really work with them and dive into that side of spirituality and deepen those practices so that my intention was pure love and my intention was clear. I think that's so important.
Definitely. Well, and I think that, what you're touching on here too is seeing the hologram.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk right now about the hologram. The perception that you're having of your life experience is a hologram curated for you and those around you.
Yep. You're literally calling those people in that you have curated for this. Essentially, you made your own movie before you came here. Now you're just living it.
Exactly. So what are your thoughts on quantum field? I know. I don't know if we have enough time for it, but what is it? How do you see quantum field?
I don't know. The things you can't see. I mean, that's where I would start. I think that there's scientific perspectives that we don't talk about: quantum mechanics, quantum physics. I think when I teach the energy behind money, this is where I'm dipping into that quantum realm where, the hologram, you've created a hologram around you. And because you've created it once, this is why you see it. Heather, you and I have talked about this before. The car that's passing by, you have all decided that it looks like this, and therefore it does. That's why everybody knows what, I don't know, a good example would be, even if they've never seen one, everybody knows. My dad talks about like the 100th monkey. Have you heard that story before?
No.
I don't think it's an actual story, but it kind of displays this quantum field of knowledge, how we're all connected. There's an island of monkeys, and the people feel bad for the monkeys, so they start dropping sweet potatoes on them, essentially. But the monkeys don't like the dirty sweet potatoes. So one mama monkey on this island figures out, hey, let's go wash the sweet potatoes, goes to the river or the water body and washes them, and then feeds all the sweet potatoes to the other monkeys on the island. And before too long, islands around the world that have monkey populations begin to do it too, because we're all connected. And you see that when an idea pops up somewhere else and someone else has thought about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I think the thing that's so fantastic about the whole, quantum field philosophy, for lack of a better term, is that it's the power of observation, right? So if you like the power of observing the experience that you're having feeds information into this field. And just like you said, the monkeys and other places started doing it, right? It is the uploading of information and sending off and downloading by another being. And so I think that some of what we're seeing in our current experience with humanity as a whole is a direct reaction to what's been put out to the quantum field, the fear, I mean, you're starting to see it now with, some of the changes that we're experiencing related to last year's events.
Yeah, let's just group them in there. Yeah, exactly.
Wink, wink, wink.
Yeah, all that stuff.
But the observing it changes it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with slit test.
Yes.
Are you familiar with that?
Yes. I researched it last year.
Yeah, incredible. It's so good.
Explain what a slit test is.
So slit test is where they take atoms and they shoot them through a slit at a screen behind them. And as they shoot the atoms through the slit, there are like waves that they make as they travel. Oop, I just hit my microphone there. They move as they create waves as they travel. And what the slit test is they watch the pattern that these atoms make as they move through, one slit or two slits. Now they take that same experiment and they put an observer there on the other side of the slit. And by the power of observation, the atoms actually change course and create an entirely different pattern. So if anybody, wants to watch this, there's actually a really fun cartoon on YouTube that is slit test. And you'll know it when you see it because it's totally a cartoon. And I highly recommend that one because it's really easy to understand what the actual slit test is and how that power of observation changes the way that things happen.
Yes.
So what if we all spent more time observing? What kind of world could we create?
Yeah, I want to deepen that thought because I think this is really, really important to where we're heading in the future because of everything that has happened last year. I think a lot of people think helpless, feel like they're helpless. Like, what am I to do? I'm just one being. But this slit test proves it. There was another experiment that was done with audio tracks. They got a computer to create audio tracks, and they used like professional headgear or whatever, like A was left ear, B was right ear or whatever, right? And it was completely random computer generation. And they told the person that they were going to hear, you're going to hear more in your left ear than you're going to hear in your right ear, more A's than B's. And it changed the recording after it was recorded. Let me say that again, because someone believed that's what they were going to hear, a pre-generated recording that had been recorded days before, weeks before, however long before, completely changed its form because that's what they thought they were going to hear. Mm-hmm. You are powerful in this seat, in this human body that you are, in that observation, and also the expectation, whether it's just the expectation that the good is going to come after every single time. I think you just said that, Heather, a few minutes ago. That is an expectation that you have, and then an experience that has happened over and over and over again. I have the same one. No matter what happens, how tragic, life can be, whatever happens to me, whether it's breakup or a loss or whatever, it's always better on the other side. It's always for a reason. And I am always better on the other side. It's that observation and that expectation. So what happens if you were to begin observing the world that we live in now and begin expecting to see people to wake up, people to embrace spirituality, people to look for the light, people to experience compassion and love and joy here in this space? Guess what you will find? More of that.
Yep. More of that. Exactly.
We didn't even scratch the surface of the quantum field.
No.
Oh
No,
man. But we
we
would
could
be
do an
talking about
entire
it.
episode on quantum field.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely. Is there anything more that you want to say about the quantum field though?
I don't think so. I think we can save it for like a whole episode. We'll do
Yeah.
a quantum episode
Oh
one of these
yeah.
days.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if
Amazing.
they want to see it, they could tell us in the comments if they want to see it.
Yes. Absolutely. If you're watching this right now, make sure to share with a friend that you think would love this information or needs to hear this. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button and the notification bell because you'd never want to miss the unedited version of these lives, which you're only going to know if you have the notification bell on, or else
This
you're
is
going to
true.
miss it. Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about that like button for a second because it's funny. I was with someone last week and she told me I absorb 100% of your content. Heather, I love watching everything that you do. So I watch every single video that you have on your YouTube channel. She's like, I do it all. I just love it. And I said, "Oh, you do?" And she says, "Yes." And I said, "Do you like them?" She's like, "Oh, I love them." And I said, "Well, can you hit the like button?" Because the like button actually helps us get this information in front of other people. Like, we love to create content just for you all day. But what if you like it, YouTube will make sure that somebody sees it. So, yeah, we cannot stress the importance of that darn like button.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and we want to know what we're saying is resonating. Like Heather and I could have these conversations, and we do multiple times a week, unfiltered, unedited, not in front of the camera, just on the phone because we're best friends. So this happens with
Yeah.
us all the time. But we want to know that we're hitting topics that you want to hear about because the whole intention of this channel, the reason why we decided to, shower and put lipstick on and put this on video is because we want to help other people get through this journey, go through this journey of spirituality, understanding, ascension, and really provide a space where they can come to and feel like they belong, that it's safe and they can learn and they can ask questions. So if that's you, hit the like button. If you want to hear about anything else, just tell us. We're open. We'll talk
Yeah.
about
Hey,
anything.
I want to just for really quickly, I want to say hi to
Oh yeah.
our friends that are watching us live. So I'm going to grab the first group here, Victoria and Lynette and Kat and Jackie.
Hi.
Hi, ladies. I'd like to just say hi to them. They're so wonderful to join us today.
Yeah. Amazing.
But anyway, I just saw them saying hi, and I'm like, oh, I want to say hi too. So,
I love it.
yeah. So I think
Amazing.
when is our next episode, Jodie?
August 17th.
Mark your calendars. August 17th.
August 17th. And yeah, August 17th, 2 p.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Pacific, and 4 p.m. Eastern.
4 p.m. Eastern. That's
I always
right.
forget that one. Amazing.
I know
All right.
there's a million things we can still talk about spirituality, and maybe we, can talk about it some more in future episodes because I know that we probably only scratched the surface of some of the stuff we wanted to talk about. But I think the thing that I would like you all to take away from this is don't be afraid to dig deep. Don't just scratch the surface. Go deep. See where the journey leads you. There's always going to be light and love and beauty on the other side. It will always be that. Don't be afraid.
If I could add to that, Heather, I would say to everyone watching, just get curious. Be childlike. It's okay. If you lean in with your heart and lead that way from a place of curiosity and wanting to understand, you'll be protected. You will be divinely guided. And if you have more questions, there's both of us here that are open and available. Heather and I have, two completely different practices. Heather is a trance channeler, helping leaders understand what their mission is in this world. And I have a company that help people understand abundance so they can have more in their life. And we utilize being a channel in completely different ways, but very important ways. So definitely check out our websites, reach out to us if you want to know more about what we do and how we can help you on this journey. I think we're up for time, Heather. This was awesome.
Amazing.
So
All of the
great.
links are down below. If
Yes.
you need the links, they're all down below. So, feel free, reach out. They're in every video. So there's no reason.
Exactly.
But this was
Okay.
wonderful.
Amazing.
Yay.
Till August 17th. We'll let you guys know next week what we're talking about. Love
Sounds
you.
good. Bye.